Back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols here with Matt Barnes, Zach Lowe, and guys, Michael Jordan, we know, one of the greatest competitors in the history of sports, not one to acknowledge that he might not be able to handle something. But Cigar Aficionado just made public a fuller transcript of the interview that they published back in 2017. And the additional comments included some interesting perspective on the social media era. Now, at the time, Jordan told Cigar Aficionado he's making a comparison between Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, how you could really not compare players between eras. Gee, I wonder who he was really talking about. And he said that Tiger played at his peak somewhere toward the end of my career. He said, then what changed from that time frame to now is social media, Twitter, and all those types of things. And that has invaded the personalities and personal time of individuals. For someone like myself, and this is what Tiger deals with, he said, I don't know if I could have survived in this Twitter era where you don't have the privacy that you'd want, and what seems to be very innocent can always be misinterpreted. So, Matt, first of all, that's an interesting acknowledgement from MJ that anything is harder now than when he played, right? Because, of course, the defenses were harder and the hand checking was harder and he walked uphill both ways to school and all of that stuff. How do
all
you
true,
think,
by the way.
Yeah, clearly. How do you think MJ would have fared in the social media era? As someone, by the way, you saw everything really change while you were playing.
Absolutely. It would have been tough. It's definitely a different time now. Social media has been the greatest gift you could say we've had, and one of the biggest curses we have. And one of the reasons why it's the biggest curse because it gives a lot of idiots voices. And a lot of negative people with a lot of negative energy will just say random stuff they would never say to your face. Mm-hmm. So I think if MJ played in this era, he would have been more closed off than he already was, and he was already really closed off. So, everything is about timing. Luckily, he didn't have to deal with it, but it's a real issue that people don't really understand how much hate and negativity weighs into social media. People always want to jump on Kevin Durant for responding and firing back, but I understand because, negativity, death threats, you're talking about your kids, your ex-wife, you name it, there's nothing off limits because you're not held accountable because you're behind the computer, behind the phone. So I completely understand where MJ is coming from.
I'm a little torn here because on the one hand, I like to imagine MJ is so cool and was so cool. He wouldn't even be on Twitter. Who cares? He wouldn't even see anything on Twitter. And so what? You snap a photo of MJ at a casino at 2:45 in the morning having a whiskey. Guess what? He hangs 50 on your team the next day, so it doesn't even matter. Then again, would he have a whole team of branding and advertising people forcing him to be on Twitter and Instagram and ruining his life by putting him on social media? Bottom line, MJ would be fine. This is Michael Jordan. He survived the bad boys fouling him. He survived Bill Laimbeer. He survived social media. It's Michael Jordan.
He still would have been a killer. I'm just saying it's just a different time, obviously.
And it's acknowledging, and I appreciate that he's acknowledging this, and that sort of shows how he is still, he's a team owner. He is still very extra layer to deal with. Look, we saw the most dramatic example of it. It's not Kevin Durant answering Twitter followers. It's not the burner phones. It's not what has gotten, say, former general managers in trouble. LeBron James, during the 2011 finals, was subject and heard and let in so much noise that he now has acknowledged it affected his performance and then went to the length of turning off all of his phones and social media for the next 5 or 6 years during the playoffs. It is something to navigate. It is interesting to me to see Jordan recognize that. The whole interview is great. It's definitely worth checking out. All right, I want to get to a current All-Star who is extension eligible this offseason. Bam Adebayo. Last week during Pat Riley's end-of-season news conference, he called Bam a, quote, cornerstone of the Heat. He said, it's in our best interest to do the right thing by him. Zach, you are the driver of the Bam wagon. Look, anyone who wants to trade, there it is. Anyone who wants to trade for Bam should not call the Heat, apparently. But what do you think about that extension that he is eligible for? Because there is a feeling of, oh, can you help us out, Bam? Just wait a year. That will give us more room in the cap, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if he's going to want to wait that long.
Well, and you could understand why he would say, why should I wait that long? I just was outstanding the entire playoffs. I was arguably our best player until the finals. Then I played hurt in the finals and gave it a go. And yeah, give me the money now, but I'm a max player. Give me the max. As for the trades, yeah, for all practical purposes, Bam Adebayo is untouchable. No one is getting Bam Adebayo from the Heat in any deal that exists in real life. The guy has proven himself an all-star and now an all-NBA level player, and I'm not putting a ceiling on him yet. That guy, that's how good he's been.
I think Bam's been great. He's definitely a max player. He should be untouchable. But at the same time, we have to understand that. Oh, excuse me. Thought I had to sneeze. Miami
cannot sneeze in public right now, Matt. People will freak out.
I held it in. Miami got with all due respect to what they accomplished, I think they were a little bit ahead of schedule, even what they thought. You know, obviously Jimmy thought they could make the finals, but I think as an organization, they thought we still have a young team, we're growing. I think they skipped some steps this year, and I hope that little taste of success doesn't hurry their process. You know, I think Bam's important. I think Tyler Hero's important, but I think if they're going to try to make a run back, they may try to throw maybe a Tyler Hero and some of the other younger players into a trade to get that third consistent score. So like I said, I hope that little taste of the finals and wanting to win a ring doesn't hurry up their process, because they have a great young core, and I'd like to see them stay together for a while.
I would also just say that whole idea of, hey, help the team out, put it off a year, it will give us more room and more flexibility. It hasn't gone great for some other situations, and you only need to look as far as next door to Jimmy Butler, right down the locker room, who was told that by the Timberwolves and got so frustrated. Well, we know what happened there. But even with situations that worked out more amicably, right? This is a different situation, but Zach, the Utah Jazz didn't make Gordon Hayward the offer he expected the year that he expected it. And when it came time years later to decide if he wanted to stay with the team as a free agent or not, it factored into his decision, right?
I mean, you have to ask Gordon. I know he's hinted at that in the past, that they matched an offer sheet from the Hornets, I believe. The archetype of this situation was Kawhi Leonard with the Spurs. They asked Kawhi Leonard to wait on his max extension to keep his little cap hold on and sign LaMarcus Aldridge, and it worked. And I don't know what role that played in whatever happened between Kawhi and San Antonio, but of course it would be convenient to have more cap space for next summer when a lot of guys are free agents, including Giannis. But, there's a certain point where if Bam feels he's earned it and he would be completely justified, you can promise him everything. You could say after next year, 100% blood oath, all that. But, it's always nice to have it done and locked in and not hanging over your head. And you could understand why he and his agent would say, we've earned it.
Well, I think the consistency of superstars getting hurt of late is a reason why you don't listen to any of that. Like, Miami knows what they have. This guy's continuing to get better. First-time All-Star. I mean, well-faceted, can do everything on the court. Pay him or lose him at the end of the day is what I think, because you see a DeMarcus Cousins where he was on the brink of touching over $200 million, and he hasn't consistently been back in the rotation. And you see KD go down, you see Klay go down, you see Kyrie go down, you see Steph go down. Injuries are part of the game, and you have to understand you have to secure as much money as you can, because you only have a small amount of time, even if it's a double-digit career in this league.
You know what our friend Tracy McGrady says? Secure the bag. All right, coming up, Kyle Korver spoke very powerfully about the Bucks' decision to walk out of a game at a town hall this past weekend at Creighton, his alma mater. Stick around for that. It is really, really worth hearing. First, though, here's a distant replay from this date in 2010 featuring Russell.
NBA champion, once again.
Jeff Zilgit.
LeBron, 3 seasons ago, after you beat Toronto, you told Cleveland.com that you didn't have anything left to prove, or you asked what you had left to prove. And I wanted to know if that's changed over the past 3 years. Did you feel you had something to prove, and why is this one so important for you?
I think, personally, thinking I had something to prove fuels me and fueled me over these last year and a half since my injury. It fueled me because no matter what I've done in my career to this point, there's still a little rumblings of doubt or, comparing me to, the history of the game and has he done this, has he done that? Having that in my head, having it in my mind, saying to myself, why not still have something to prove? I think it fuels me.
All right, Dave McMenamin.
LeBron, all the circumstances surrounding this one, being in Orlando, having 4.5 month hiatus, away from family, everything going on in the country, how does that add context to this fourth ring versus the other three?
I think they're all special in their own right. They all have their obstacles, things that went on throughout the course of the year, both on and off the floor. But one is not less than the other. Because when you're able to put yourself in this position to be able to win a championship, the first thing you start to think about is how much work you've put in over the course of the year. How much you've sacrificed, how much you dedicated to the game and to your craft. That's always been the most fulfilling thing for me, besides seeing my teammates as happy as they are, is being able to know that you could put the work in, literally trust the process, live up the process, and then see the results. And I think not only from a basketball player, but from everybody, whatever craft, whatever work space you're in, to be able to put the work in and live along the process and build along the process and